I'm Charlie Miller. I'm a hairdresser. I've been a hairdresser for nearly 50 years and I've retired from doing clients, and these days I look after teenagers who have cancer and I style real hair wigs for them. I engage hairdressers from all over the country to do that for the teenagers. The Teenage Cancer Trust is a great operation, and I became involved with it about 4 years ago. And they had provided a wig for a girl, and it was a real hair wig, because when the girls have cancer, they have a fibre wig from the NHS, which is a really good wig. But there's something that's better on offer if you can get a real hair wig, but the real hair wigs are expensive and they're quite difficult to style, actually. You know, you've got to be particularly aware about how to deal with wigs. And so that's how I became involved with them, because they supplied a wig for this one particular girl. And I discovered then that teenagers had got cancer. And I didn't know that. I thought it was all older people that got cancer, and I didn't realise there were so many teenagers. And because I don't have a patient today, then I can't really show you how it works, but I can show you with Nikki's permission what it was like. This was Nikki's hair about maybe 6 weeks after her treatment, and her hair was starting to grow in again, and so she's kindly allowed me to show you what she looks like with her wig on. And so that's Nikki without and with. So you see the value of getting a real hair wig and how it works for them. You can be a brilliant hairdresser and not have experience with wigs. And I have experience with wigs because of the hairdressing shows. And people will often say, oh, you know, why do you do hair like that? Well, it's for hairdressers. The really extravagant hair that's done in a way to get hairdressers to think, how did they do that? And so we've got a lot of experience in doing wigs. And with that experience of doing that kind of stuff, that's what enables me to be able to do the wigs for the girls. Time-wise, there's a lot of time involved in it, because there's a lot of the work that I have to do in the office with my PA, with Darlene. She links everything up for me, and books my flights and my train journeys and so on to go south or north or wherever I'm going. So there's quite a lot of time involved in it, but I've got the time, and so I can give it, and I'm happy to do that, you know. And so it's a very satisfying thing to do. I feel it's a gift. Yeah. The thing that I think would be most helpful for what I've discovered is I'm doing this in my retirement, and I'm using the skill that I've had all my life in my retirement to help somebody. And I think that people who want to help and give, if they think about giving money, but you can give what you've got, what your skill is. I mean, you could be a joiner and be a philanthropist with your joinery. Instead of just, I've retired and stop, you could look at who needs help. You could be you could do anything almost, but continue it. But people are so geared to thinking that they've got to give money, and it's like, yes, we give money as well, but it's the time that we give, and you can give your time and your skill. And I think that that's something that's maybe overlooked by a lot of older people, that they just kind of hang up their tools or their pen or whatever it is, you know. And that's, you can look into, see where you can take your skills. That's the thing that I've learned most. So as soon as I found out about the girls having cancer and the need for a real hair wig, I started to look into it. And then I started to find out how many there are in Edinburgh and how many there are in our area, in Fife and the surrounding areas of Edinburgh. And so when I discovered that, I thought, wow, that really surprised me. And so I thought, I could do this. I could look after all the girls in this area. then when I got that in place, I started to think about the rest of Scotland, and I thought, because I know all the hairdressers in Scotland really, you know, and so I started to think who I could get to do the teenagers in their area. So I went and visited them all around Scotland, from the north of Scotland all the way through, and after a wee while I got them all doing their area. So the kids in Scotland all get looked after by all these top hairdressers. When I got that in place, I thought, gosh, I wonder how far I could take this, you know. So I started to go over the border into England, and I've got quite a number of hairdressers in England now doing it, and I'm on my way. I don't inquire too much when I'm looking after them, you know, about what kind of cancer they've got. I like to know how they are on the day, how they're feeling today, so that I can make sure that I don't keep them in the chair too long or anything like that. But what they tell me sometimes, and the families, because usually the mum and dad's there as well, coming to see their wig being done, and I'm quite happy with them being around. But they've often said to me that it's the losing their hair they're more upset about than the cancer, which sounds crazy, but it's a difficult time for the kids. They're just forming their identity and their look, and they suddenly, as well as being ill, they're going to lose their hair. As I say, you know, it just gradually, organically grew with me, this approach, seeing that I could do it for a start, and then seeing that I could get the Edinburgh hairdressers and then the Scottish hairdressers, and then I thought, you know, the English hairdressers will involve themselves immediately in this, I'm sure. So what I do though is I go down to see the hospital as well. I have to go down and see the hairdressers with the wigs, because the wigs are quite difficult to do. You know, they're not easy. I go and see the hairdresser. I take the hairdresser with me to the hospital to meet the nurse, so the nurse knows who they're dealing with, and the nurses are the vital connection, because they've got to send the patients to the hairdressers, and then that connection's made with them. So the hospital and the hairdresser are connected, and the hairdresser is really familiarised with the type of wigs, and then I can leave them to get on with it. But one of the really interesting things is that every single hairdresser that I've asked to do it, it's like you just ask them and they say they'll do it like that, every single one. So it's a gift of a thing to be able to take that into looking after the patients, you know, and so very satisfying. And the hairdressers they're all into it. Nobody hesitates. You know. Once I've got it established that I know it's really happening in a big enough way, we're going to look at getting wigs specially made, so they would be made and ready in the box, but at the right thickness. That will be a big financial project to get the numbers with this, and finding out just how many children we're going to be serving. That would be much, much easier. I think the challenge is the amount of patients there are. That's the challenge, is getting, in theory, we would like every child to have a real hair wig and go to a hairdresser that can handle that. That's the challenge. There's that many, and because of the time that I need to give it, you need to not be doing clients, and so there's not a lot of hairdressers around that are wig aware. You know, it's that. And there's a lot of brilliant hairdressers, but they don't necessarily work with wigs. My boys have been brought up with values, and they're really hard-working and talented guys. And I also have a daughter-in-law who's really gifted as well, and a guy called Ian Blythe who's been with us for about 35 years, who's a director, and all of these people would look after this project if I wanted to stand aside from it. The only thing I've got to do before I stop is reach as many patients throughout the whole of the country that I can reach.